Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
And today we're going to talk about complaining. Complaining, yes, indeed. What do you have to complain about? I've got all sorts of stuff to complain about. The weather is terrible. It's either too hot or it's raining all the time, and there are traffic jams all the time. I hate my coworkers. They never cooperate with me. They never see things my way, and of course, my way is the best way. What am I going to do with myself here? I can't live in this world when everything doesn't meet my standards.
Well, supposedly, if you keep complaining, your troubles go away, but I don't find that to be true. I think the more I grumble and complain, the worse I feel about life. And today, Tom, I have to complain a little bit because I do have a headache.
Oh, no. So you're going to be complaining about me talking too loudly.
Yes.
Or something like that. So I guess I better keep my voice down. But today we are going to be talking about complaining. And I guess there are two different ways to complain. One way is you are actually trying to achieve some kind of goal.
Okay.
Try to make things better. But the other one is just kind of complaining because it's fun and because you can bond with other people because they're complaining, and you can feel kind of some sort of camaraderie if you're complaining with other people.
Like you're in this together, but I find that when I complain with other people, I just get more depressed. So let's go ahead and start, guys. We're going to read through our article, and then we'll be back to talk about it. After a long, exhausting week, Kent and his buddies from work went to get a drink and something to eat. Pretty soon, the conversation turned to their office. The friends took turns complaining about their demanding boss, their annoying coworkers, and anything else that was bothering them. But why did they do this? Did their complaining make things better? Psychologists believe that there are two kinds of complaining. The first, called instrumental complaining, is used to achieve a result. An example of this is telling a waiter that your meal in a restaurant was awfully cooked. This usually results in a replacement meal or a refund. However, the other kind, expressive complaining, has a different function. This is the sort of moaning that Kent and his friends were indulging in. The aim is not to bring about change, but to get attention, gain sympathy, and form social connections. Does complaining bring any benefits? Firstly, complaining helps you get your problems off your chest and out in the open. If you keep your grievances to yourself, you'll have to deal with the pain or stress on your own. Secondly, it allows people to bond over shared experiences. By sharing complaints about the same issue, we can assure each other that we're not alone. In these situations, getting advice about how to solve the problem is a bonus. But it's not the main purpose of complaining. So it's acceptable to grumble every now and again. However, someone who never stops complaining will soon become unpopular. Therefore, it's important not to complain too much. Let other people have their turn too. Be a good listener and learn when it's time to turn the conversation to something more positive. After all, you don't want people to be complaining about you.
Okay, everybody, let's talk about the contents of our lesson today. It's entitled, Complain Your Troubles Away. This is a common phrase to do something and then have the word away at the end. To dance the night away, for example, if you're going out dancing on a weekend. And in this case, you're complaining your troubles away, which means complaining in order to get rid of them.
You could also just sing your troubles away, if you just sing until you feel good. Here we're talking about complaining, saying you don't like something and why you don't like it. And, a lot of people have learned how to complain. At a very young age, we learn how to complain. Mom, my cereal is too hot. Or, I don't have enough candy in my bag. Or, I didn't get enough sleep last night. All those things. Yeah.
Exactly. And, of course, we all know that complaining can bring about results. But we are going to talk about some of the reasons people communicate in today's program. So let's get to it. Let's look at the first paragraph. enough. Here's a scenario, an example situation.
Okay.
After a long, exhausting week, Kent and his buddies from work went to get a drink and something to eat. This is a common activity for people in the United States to go out for a drink. In Taiwan, people tend to go out and get something to eat, but in America, people sometimes, a lot of times, they go to a bar or a pub and get a drink, and bars or pubs offer things to eat, like burgers and things like that. So they're going to get a drink, maybe a beer or a martini or something like that. And, of course, it's a way to sort of let go. And if something is exhausting, it's making you very tired or it makes you exhausted. Remember, exhausted is the way you feel. Exhausting is the situation. So something is exhausting when it makes you exhausted. Oh, I'm so exhausted from a week of work.
Well, pretty soon after they're there getting a drink after work, the conversation turns to the office, which usually happens if you're with your buddies from work. You talk about things that you have in common, of course. If you're with coworkers, you have the office in common and what's going on there. So at that point, the friends take turns. I'm turning this into present tense. The friends take turns complaining about their demanding boss. Darn that boss, he's so demanding. Now, if you take turns doing something, you do something first and then you let somebody else do it and then maybe it comes back to your turn. When we play games as children, we take turns a lot. We learn how to take turns, which is really important. And if you're even having a conversation with friends, it's important to take turns and let other people have a chance to speak as well. Now, if you have a demanding boss, your boss is someone who has very high expectations and is always wanting something, never seems to be satisfied. It's kind of hard if you have a demanding boss, but sometimes demanding bosses can also push you to do your best. So they're not all bad.
Yeah, we don't all want to be lazy at work. Sometimes having a demanding boss is a good thing.
Yeah.
But most people will complain about a boss who is too demanding. They're also complaining about their annoying coworkers. And if something is annoying, well, it annoys you, it irritates you, it makes you feel uncomfortable. And of course, maybe some of your coworkers talk too much, or they have a really weird sounding voice and it gets really annoying. Listen to them talk all day long. And so, yes, they're complaining about those coworkers or colleagues who are annoying, and they might be complaining about anything else that was bothering them, the weather or things like that. Now, it goes on here to say, but why did they do this? Did their complaining make things better? Yes, why do people complain about things? And we're going to find out some of the reasons as our lesson continues. So let's move on now to the following paragraph and talk about psychologists. Those are people who study the mind and the way people behave and the way they think and stuff. And psychologists believe that there are two kinds of complaining. Okay, I mentioned this earlier, but this is according to some research by psychologists. And they have now given us two definitions here of what complaining is.
Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't heard this before. Well, the first kind of complaining we could say is more productive. It's more positive. They're calling it instrumental complaining. If something's instrumental, it means it's serving as a means to achieve some sort of goal or aim. So it's useful, you could say. So the first kind of complaining is more useful because it's used to achieve a result. So if you're going to complain, at least try to complain using the first type called instrumental complaining.
I could say, for example, that this new government policy is instrumental in bringing about an end to inflation. Hopefully that will happen. But in any case, this is instrumental complaining, which is used to achieve a result. So that, of course, is the first kind of complaining. And an example of this is telling a waiter that your meal in a restaurant was awfully cooked. Not only badly cooked, but really badly cooked. awfully cooked. Maybe it was overcooked. Maybe the steak is too well done, or it's too rare, or the potatoes are just a big sloppy mess.
I don't know. Maybe they burned it.
Could be, yes. So that would be awfully cooked, overcooked, or undercooked.
Horribly cooked.
Exactly. And this usually results in a replacement meal or a refund. Yes, you need to do this. If somebody gives you a badly cooked meal, you need to complain about it. You need to bring it to their attention so that they'll know what to do in the future, and then also they can give you something new or give you a refund. A replacement, of course, is just something that substitutes for something else. And in this case, a refund is just getting your money back.
Yeah, and that's important if you really got something pretty bad or horrible. They didn't deliver what they promised. Now, however, we're going to look at the second kind of complaining now. It's called expressive complaining. Now, you know when we talk about expressing yourself, you're conveying or telling people about your thoughts or feelings. So this is the kind of complaining this is. You're kind of just letting them know how you're feeling inside. You're not happy. It's performing a different kind of function. It's just letting you release some of your annoyance and some of your frustration that's built up inside. So that's why some people use the second kind of complaining called expressive complaining. And I would bet, Tom, that this is by far the most kind of complaining we hear is the expressive complaining, where you just want to blow off steam or let off steam. This is the sort of moaning that Kent and his friends were indulging in. If you moan, it's that, oh, I can't believe I have to do this. It's that kind of speaking that it's moaning. Usually people moan when they're in pain.
That's what happens indeed. And here it says this is the sort of moaning that they were indulging in. And if you indulge in something, that just means you allow yourself to enjoy something. You might indulge in a hot fudge sundae, for example, even though you're not supposed to, and because you're on a diet and stuff like that. In this case, they are indulging in some moaning, or they are indulging in some complaining. It just feels good to do it. And we'll talk some more about this type of complaining in just a second, but we're going to take a time out right now and listen to our Chinese teacher.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tina. 你是个喜欢抱怨的人吗？事实上呢，今天的主题会告诉我们，抱怨事实上对身心健康也是有益的。首先，我们来看一下，在第一段的第一个空格的句子里面提到，The friends took turns complaining about their demanding boss, their annoying co-workers, and anything else that was blank one them. 在这里提到呢，一群朋友们在聊天的时候，话题转向来大家轮流 take turns，抱怨他们那些很苛求的老板、讨人厌的同事，以及任何一件事情是怎么样的事呢？当然哦，不管是苛求的老板、讨人厌的同事，都是让他们心烦、生气的事物。所以搭配文意，我们来看一下第一题 A 选项 rewarding， 也就是有奖励的意思。 B protesting 抗议。 C bothering 困扰使生气。 D motivating提高动机，这些事情都可以让人心烦生气，所以搭配文意，第一题的标准答案就选择 C bothering。 那第二段的一刚开始就告诉我们，其实呢，抱怨的目的大概可以分为两种。 The first called instrumental complaining blank to a result， 第一种呢称为 instrumental complaining， 我们叫做作用型的抱怨，它是跟结果有什么关系呢？我们来看一下第二题的选项，就是要请同学分辨 be used to 加原形动词，有被用来做什么事。但是如果你看到的是 be used to 加 VING， 则是有习惯的意思。如果你下次看到的是 used to 加原形动词，则是有代表过去常常怎么样。 其实在这里要谈的是呢，这种作用型的抱怨是要被用来达到某个特定的结果，所以搭配文意，第二题的标准答案就选择 B 选项的 is used to achieve， 这样的抱怨是要被用来达成目的的。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, everybody, let's continue with our lesson. We're talking about complaining, and where we left off, we were talking about two types of complaining. The example, of course, is with Kent and his buddies from work. They're getting together for a drink, and they're complaining about things in the office. I would say that's more expressive kinds of complaining, but they might be doing some instrumental types of complaining where they're trying to fix some problems. We do need to complain from time to time if we want to right some wrongs. Now, the aim of this kind of expressive complaining is not to bring about change, but to get attention, to gain sympathy, and form social connections. Now, in this sentence, we have the phrase to bring about change, which means you want that thing to happen. You want it to be more easily accomplished.
Yeah, and you're usually doing something to make that change happen. But they're also doing it to get attention. You know, they want people to know they're unhappy, so they complain. Sometimes we complain to get sympathy. If people have sympathy for you, it means they understand how you feel and they kind of, you know, are on your side. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, our boss is too demanding, that sort of thing. The other reason that they might be doing this expressive complaining, though, is just to form social connections. Sometimes we connect with people when we find out they feel the same way we do about certain issues or topics. And sometimes when we complain, we find out, oh, they're unhappy too. Oh, I can relate to this person. So that helps you form a new social connection.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how other people felt about Jane, but now I know everybody else hates her as much as I do. So we have that sort of social connection. You don't have to hate Jane. She is kind of a 讨厌, kind of a deplorable, detestable, annoying, but still, you might be able to get along with her somehow.
Hopefully.
But in any case here, let's move on to the next paragraph. It says, does complaining bring any benefits? Yes. Do we get anything positive from complaining? Well, yes, the answer is yes. Firstly, complaining helps you get your problems off your chest and out in the open. A lot of times we've got these things kind of building up inside. They're pent up inside, and we've got to release them. We've got to let them go. We've got to get them off our chest and be relieved of that burden.
Sometimes if you don't do a little bit of complaining, one day you'll just suddenly explode. And you might explode in front of your demanding boss and get fired. So sometimes it helps to complain a little bit after work with some coworkers. Although you need to be careful, some coworkers may run and tell the boss what you're saying. So be careful.
Never know, yep.
That happens, unfortunately. Now, if you keep your grievances to yourself, you'll have to deal with the pain or stress on your own, and that can be unhealthy, actually, if you keep a lot of stress inside. We found that out. Now, if you have a grievance, it's just some sort of problem or something that's happened to you where you feel like you've been wronged or something's unfair and you're getting unfair treatment, or perhaps somebody else around you is getting unfair treatment. Then you can have a grievance. So sometimes it's best to kind of let out some of those frustrations, but be careful who you complain to. I would say that's pretty good advice.
Yes, so don't keep those grievances to yourself, but it's good advice here. Be careful who you open your heart to. And yes, indeed, you'll have to deal with that pain or stress on your own if you keep it inside. Now, Now, secondly, it allows people to bond over shared experiences. And this is what we're often trying to do in life. We try to bond with other people. Bond here is being used as a verb. It just means to have a strong connection to someone or something. Maybe, I know somebody went on a trip with his son. He was having some problems with his son. They weren't getting along. So they went on a trip together to bond. Have some father-son bonding. They went to Nanto, and now they are the best father and son relationship that I've ever seen.
That's great. So you kind of help strengthen your relationship when you're bonding. Bonding can be either a verb or a noun, by the way. Now, by sharing complaints about the same issue, we can assure each other, hey, that we're not alone. I hear you. Sometimes you'll hear that phrase, oh, I hear you, which just means I understand what you're saying. I totally get that. And it's kind of nice to know you're not alone. Now, if you assure somebody of something, you just tell somebody that they don't have to worry. There's no doubts at all. You totally understand what they're saying. Maybe you want to assure your employer that you'll never be late again. That would mean that you somehow overcome your employer's doubts that you'll be late again. So if you assure somebody, you make them pretty confident that what you're saying is true.
That's right. You kind of guarantee it. You make them believe you. So if you do lie later, they will hate you quite a lot there. And they'll never want to talk to you again.
We can also use it in business to talk about a company perhaps guaranteeing some sort of service. For example, if I go to the post office and I want to overnight a package, they might assure me that the package will be delivered on time. And that makes me feel confident that what they're saying is true.
Indeed. Now, in these situations, when you share complaints, when you bond with your coworkers, getting advice about how to solve the problem is a bonus, but it's not the main purpose of complaining. So yes, indeed, when you have this expressive complaining with other people, yes, you could benefit from this complaining. It could be instrumental, but again, that's not the main purpose. The main purpose is to just complain because it's fun or because you want to be better friends with these people. And in this case, if you can figure out how to solve the problem, well, it's a bonus. And a bonus, of course, is just something extra you get, especially here in Taiwan. Y'all get your year-end bonus.
Ooh, nice. So in our last paragraph, it says it's acceptable or it's okay to grumble every now and again. You can also say every now and then. Those are both good phrases. Now, if you grumble, we kind of have to demonstrate it because it entails talking in kind of a very low way, and it's not very clear.
Well, it does.
Yeah. We grumble a lot when we don't perhaps want our parents to hear exactly what we're saying, or maybe our teacher at school. So you say it in kind of a low voice, but you're in a bad mood, and you have a bad attitude when you grumble.
That's right. So yes, indeed, it is acceptable to grumble from every now and then, every once in a while. However, someone who never stops complaining will soon become unpopular. And this, of course, is a person who is known as a whiner.
Yeah.
Nobody likes a whiner. Yes, we all should complain from time to time, but you shouldn't go overboard with it. Someone who never stops complaining will soon become unpopular. They'll be called a whiner, and they won't have any friends. They'll probably get fired. They'll end up living on the street, and they'll probably die under a bridge someday.
Oh, dear, Tom.
I'm exaggerating, of course, but
no.
Yes, it's just a warning not to be too much of a complainer. Don't be a whiner.
Yeah. So if you're whining, it's kind of that moaning, complaining that people hear sometimes. You don't want to be a whiner. We have plenty of whiners in this world, unfortunately. And remember, you've got to let people have their turn to complain too. You need to be a good listener. So sometimes even if you're frustrated, you need to step back and let somebody else have the floor. If someone takes the floor, it means they have the attention. And let them complain for a while and just just listen, because being a good listener is part of being a good friend.
It is indeed, and learn when it's time to take over the conversation and change it to something more positive, okay? There is the other thing, we were discussing this before the program, but there is something wrong with somebody who is too positive, who always looks on the bright side. You have to complain every once in a while, and we like to have a balance between them. Don't be too much of a whiner. Don't be too much of a Pollyanna, as we call them, somebody who's always looking on the bright side. Those people can be just as annoying.
Especially if you're frustrated and they're in the room. So be careful, be sensitive to other people's feelings. That's probably the best thing you can do. Right now, we're going to listen to our Chinese teacher who never complains or whines. No.
接下来我们看一下第3题的这个句子。The aim is blank 3 to bring about change blank 3 to get attention, gain sympathy, and form social connections. 在这里提到这个抱怨的种类呢，它的目的怎么样？Bring about change 也就是带来改变，后面还提到 get attention 得到关注， gain sympathy 获得同情，或者是形成 social connections 社会的连结。我们来看一下第3题 A 选项 neither nor 指两者皆非， B 选项 more than A 胜于 B， C 选项 either or两者择一， D 选项 not but 不是什么而是什么。在这里介绍的另外一种抱怨呢，它有不同的功能，它不是要带来改变，而是希望能够获得关注，得到同情，而且形成社会连结，这才是我们要的文意。所以第3题的标准答案就选择 D 选项。第4个空格的句子提到 Does complaining bring any blank for？ 那么抱怨到底会不会带来任何的什么呢？如果你看到后面的文意就会告诉你，其实抱怨可以带来很多的好处。所以根据文意，我们来看一下第4题的选项。 A. Benefits 好处， B. Objections 反对， C. Tendencies 倾向， D. Comments 评论。其实抱怨也会带来很多的好处的，所以第4题搭配文意，我们选择 A 选项的 benefits。第5个空格前面提到了什么呢？它让我们呢可以有一些分享经验的一个机会。第5个空格后面提到 complaints about the same issue, we can assure each other that we are not alone。 那么借由呢我们来对同样的一个事情，同样的议题来分享抱怨，借由这样的方式，我们就可以让彼此确信自己并不孤单。所以搭配文意，借由做这样子的事情，我们就第5题可以选择 B 选项的by sharing。 第6个空格的句子提到 So is blank 6 to grumble every now and again。 在这里提到的 grumble 也就是有抱怨的意思，所以看到前面讲到抱怨的好处，偶尔去抱怨其实是怎么样的呢？ A 选项 acceptable 可接受的， B honorable 荣誉的， C inappropriate不适当的， D. notorious 恶名昭彰的。抱怨有这么多的好处，偶尔抱怨一下其实也是可以接受的，所以第6题我们答案选择 A. acceptable。不过你要注意哦，不要抱怨的太多。第7个空格是一个转成词，看了前面的文意，那么后面提到 You don't want people to be complaining about you， 千万不要抱怨的太多，毕竟呢你不希望人家反过来抱怨你的不是了。所以搭配文意，第7题我们可以选择 C 选项的 After all。 那么有毕竟的意思。A 选项 for example 例如， B as a result 因此， D worst of all 最糟的是，都不符合文意，所以第7题的标准答案就选择 C。 以上就是今天的课文讲解，谢谢收听。
That's it for today. Thank you so much for complaining to us. If you have any complaints, and please join us again next time for another edition of our wonderful program from all of us here at English Digest. I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.